I'll never forget those tattoos. 2 butterflies, one on each wrist. Black, like they'd been burned into the skin. Their wings wide open, as if frozen mid-flight. I saw them once, on a cold night, right before I was shoved to the ground, beaten, stripped of my jacket and phone, and left lying on the concrete in just a sweater. Almost 2 years passed before I saw them again, on the wrists of a guy who walked into my gym, smiling, asking for personal training. He didn't recognize me. But I knew exactly who he was. Back then, I was nobody. A ghost in a city that didn't care I existed. I landed at JFK with a backpack and a nervous buzz in my chest. No friends, no job, no English. Just a dream, to become someone. To mean something. I had $200, 2 shirts, a beat-up pair of sneakers, and a notebook my mom gave me when I left. The first night I rented a bunk bed in a room shared by 4 guys. The ceiling was moldy, the mattress stained, the air thick with old food and dust. But it was a roof. In New York. That made it a victory. 3 days later I got a job washing dishes at a Russian-owned cafe in Brighton Beach. They paid cash. No questions. I worked 12 to 14 hours a day, wrist-deep in steam and soap, my fingertips cracked from chemicals. The chef yelled constantly. Plates slammed. Water splashed into my shoes. But I held on. Because I had to. Then came side hustles. Cleaning basements. Carrying furniture. Taking out trash in buildings that smelled like mildew and sweat. I never said no. If it paid anything, I showed up. Meals were cheap noodles, eggs, and stale bread. I had one phone, cracked, slow, but it connected me to everything. I used it to learn English. I'd Google phrases I overheard, screenshot vocabulary, repeat words under my breath as I cleaned floors. My phone was my teacher. And my only friend. I barely slept. I shared a room with 3 other guys, none of whom spoke my language. One snored, one smoked, and one worked nights, coming in just as I was leaving. We rarely spoke. But there was a strange kind of comfort in our silence. We were all just trying to stay afloat. Each night, I'd walk the streets after work. Not far, just enough to see life. People in suits, holding coffee, wearing earbuds. They looked like they belonged. Like they had a map. I wanted that. Not the coffee. Not the suits. Just that quiet confidence in their walk. I studied how people moved. How they ordered food. How they greeted each other. Every, "How's it going?" I understood felt like a win. Eventually, I started walking longer distances. Not to explore. To save bus fare. Sometimes I jogged to work. Not because I was training, because I was late. But I started to enjoy the rhythm. Moving forward. Breathing deeper. I didn't call it progress. I didn't even notice it was. But slowly, my body started changing. My back didn't hurt as much. My legs felt steadier. My chest didn't feel as tight. That was before everything changed. Before the night I walked home through a courtyard and ran into 4 guys. Before I lost my phone, my jacket, and a piece of who I was. Before I stopped seeing myself as invisible, and started building something else. It happened on a cold November evening. I had just finished another long shift at the laundromat. My hands stung from the detergent, my feet felt like bricks, and all I wanted was to get home, eat something hot, and maybe get 5 hours of sleep. I took my usual shortcut, a narrow path between 2 apartment buildings. It was faster and familiar. There were dumpsters, cracked pavement, old graffiti. I'd walked it 100 times before. That night, 4 guys were there. Maybe early 20s. Laughing too loud, kicking an empty can, one of them smoking. I lowered my gaze and picked up the pace. No eye contact. Just walk. Just pass. "Hey, man." One of them called out. I pretended not to hear. "Hold up. We want to ask you something." I stopped. Slowly turned. "You got any change?" The tallest one asked, voice light, almost casual. "No, sorry," I replied. "Cool, Cool, but you got a phone, right? And a nice jacket too. Why walk around with all that alone? Something in me locked up. I tried to stay calm. I'm just going home. But it was already too late. One stepped in front of me. Another moved behind. The space around me tightened. My chest tensed. Not even $1. Check him. A hand pushed me. Hard. I stumbled backward. Then came the punch, fast, in the stomach. Another. One grabbed my arms, another went through my pockets. And then, him. The one who reached into the front pocket of my jeans and pulled out my phone. He leaned in, close enough for me to see his face. But I didn't remember the face. I remembered his wrists. 2 black butterflies, one on each side. Inked like mirrors. Spread wide across the skin. I don't know why my brain locked onto that detail. Maybe because everything else was a blur. But those tattoos, they stayed. Like a stamp burned into memory. I thought, if I ever tell the police, that'll be the thing. I'll say butterflies. And they'll know who to find. But I never went to the police. They ripped off my jacket. Quick. Efficient. One last kick. And they were gone, laughing, boots crunching against broken glass and leaves. Just like that. I stood there for a long time. Just stood. In a sweater. In the cold. No one came out. No lights turned on. Just me, alone, under a flickering street lamp. I made it back home on autopilot. Each step slower than the last. Rain started to fall. It didn't matter. Everything already felt wet. Dirty. Hollow. I opened the apartment door quietly. Everyone else was asleep. I didn't want to wake anyone. I didn't want to be seen like that. I sat on the edge of the bed and stared at the wall for a long time. In the morning, my roommate noticed the split lip, the missing jacket. He didn't ask questions. Just walked to his corner of the closet, pulled out an old blue coat, and handed it to me. Take it, he said. Give it back later. It didn't fit well. It smelled like dust and storage. But it was warm. And I'd never been more grateful. I never told anyone. Not the cops. Not my roommates. Not even my mom. I was an immigrant. No ID. No status. No idea what my rights were. And they were from here. Local. Native English. Local clothes. Local confidence. It wasn't just fear. It was resignation. What could I possibly do? So I went to work the very next day. No phone. No jacket. Just kept moving. I took longer routes now. Only main streets. No shortcuts. No alleys. No courtyards. Ever again. I bought a small pepper spray can and kept it in my pocket. It didn't make me feel safe. But it made me feel less helpless. Weeks passed. My bruises faded. But the butterflies didn't. They haunted me. Not in nightmares, in flashes. Random. Mid-shift. In line at the store. Waiting for the bus. Those wings, wide, ink black, permanent. I never saw his face. Just the butterflies. And somehow, that was worse. I started walking more. Just to burn the tension. Then I started jogging. It wasn't exercise. It was escape. From fear. From powerlessness. From that night. Then, one day, I passed by an outdoor workout park. Bars. Benches. Rusted dip stations. I stopped. There was no one around. Just the chill morning air and a light breeze. I looked at the pull-up bar, stepped under it, and jumped to grab hold. Tried to pull myself up. Failed. Tried again. Failed again. But I didn't leave. Because something in me had finally decided, if I was gonna survive here, I needed to become someone who could pull his own weight. That first time I grabbed the pull-up bar, I barely held on. My grip was weak, my arms trembled, and my feet hit the ground before my chest ever got close to the bar. But I didn't walk away. And that's when something shifted inside me. I started going to the outdoor gym regularly. It became my quiet space. No headphones, no coach, no plan. Just me, metal bars, and cold morning air. Some days I came after night shifts. Other times before sunrise. At first, I could barely hang. Then I managed one shaky pull-up. Then 2. Then 5. There were other guys there sometimes. Bigger, louder, faster. I kept my distance. I wasn't embarrassed. I just wasn't ready to be seen. But I kept showing up. Day after day, I returned to those bars. Not to become stronger than someone else, just to become stronger than I used to be. I wrote everything down in a notebook. Not numbers, feelings. Felt stronger today. Arms gave out early. Didn't stop when I wanted to. That notebook was the first place I started to track my progress. It wasn't about sets or reps. It was about reclaiming something I'd lost, belief. One day, while jogging through a different part of the neighborhood, I saw a gym. Not a flashy chain, just a local spot tucked between a dry cleaner and a pizza shop. I stopped. Watched through the glass. Inside, people moved with purpose. Trainers guided them. Music played. It looked like another world. A world I wasn't sure I belonged in, but I wanted to. The next day, I came back and walked in. A guy at the front desk looked up. First time. I nodded. You can train for free this week. Want a quick tour? He showed me around. Machines I'd never touched. Mirrors. A whole rack of dumbbells. Everything looked so clean. So organized. I came back the next day. And the next. I used the lightest weights. Watched how people moved. Mimicked quietly. Sometimes I messed up, a trainer would correct me. Not with judgment. Just a small nod. A quick tip. And they'd move on. I appreciated that. No one asked who I was. But no one made me feel like I didn't belong. Soon, I found myself staying longer. Before or after work. On my off days. I didn't know anyone. But the space became familiar. Then I started reading. Watching videos. Learning proper form. Not to impress anyone. I just wanted to understand. I'd film my sets. Take notes. I learned how to warm up, cool down, breathe. I studied everything like my life depended on it. Because maybe it did. Eventually, some of the trainers noticed me. One of them, Jared, tall, glasses, calm, came over one afternoon. You've been here a lot lately, he said. I nodded. You learn quick. You ever think about helping out here? I froze. Like, working here? Sort of. Assistant, maybe. Intern. We teach you. You help out. Just a thought. It took everything not to smile. I nodded again. A few days later, the front desk manager, Laura, approached me during my cool-down. You're here more than our staff, she joked. Then she got serious. You seem sharp. Focused. Want to shadow one of the trainers? We can show you the ropes. I said yes. The next week, I was wiping down mats, re-racking weights, learning names of machines. But in between cleaning, I listened. Watched. Memorized everything. How trainers corrected posture. How they spotted clients. How they handled people who doubted themselves. Sometimes they let me help. Small things, setting up equipment, adjusting form, encouraging a beginner. I didn't get paid. But for the first time since arriving in this country, I felt like I had value. One night, after everyone left, I stayed to stretch. Mark, the head trainer, walked by. You've got good instincts, he said. I've been watching you. You're not here for show. That's rare. I nodded. Didn't know what to say. But I wrote it down in my notebook that night. Someone sees me. Weeks passed. I got stronger. Smarter. Quieter. I wasn't the guy who got jumped in a courtyard anymore. That person faded into the background. And one morning, Laura said, "We've got an opening for a training assistant. Low-key. You'd help out with sessions, learn more. Not a full trainer yet. But maybe soon. You in?" I was in. They handed me a name badge. Just my first name. Black letters. Clean plastic. I held it for a long time. It wasn't about pride. It was about proof. Proof that I was building something from nothing. Being a trainer felt like living in a different skin. Not physically, mentally. Emotionally. For the first time, people came to me with trust, not suspicion. I wasn't invisible anymore. I wasn't background noise. I was part of something. A voice people listened to. The days were long. I opened early, closed late. Ran back-to-back sessions, barely had time to eat. But I didn't mind. Because I was building a name. At first, clients came from the front desk rotation, walk-ins, trial classes. Then came word of mouth. Referrals. Repeat sessions. And soon, I had regulars. A lot of them were women. They said I had a calm presence. That I explained things without pressure. That I made them feel safe. They brought friends. Left reviews. My schedule filled up faster than I could adjust it. One day, Mark, one of the senior trainers, pulled me aside. "You're not flashy. That's your strength," he said. "People don't feel judged around you. That's rare. Don't lose it." I didn't say much. Just nodded. But inside, I felt something settle. Like I belonged. One evening, near closing, the gym's security guard approached me. He was always solid. Quiet. Stocky guy in a black vest, always posted by the door. We nodded at each other most days but never talked much. "Hey, can I ask you something?" he said. I paused. "Sure. I got a nephew. Kid's kinda lost. Been trying to get him to work out, stay out of trouble. But he needs the right person to push him. Not yell, just guide." "Okay, I've been watching you. You're patient. He needs that. I know your schedule's probably full, but maybe you could take him on. I'll pay if he can't." I didn't answer right away. I had too many clients already. Not enough hours in the day. But something about the way he asked, quiet, respectful, almost embarrassed, made me stop. This guy had never asked anyone for anything. "Have him call me," I said. "If I can fit him in, I will." He smiled, relieved. "Thanks, man. Really. He'll reach out." We shook hands. I headed to the locker room, not giving it much more thought. A couple days later, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. "Hey, you the trainer?" the voice asked. Young, casual. "My uncle gave me your number. Said you're good. I've got availability a couple days this week. You free after 4? "Yeah, that works." I added him to the calendar. Sent him the gym address. Moved on with my day. Nothing about it felt different, yet. The next afternoon, around 4:10, the front door opened. A tall guy walked in. Hoodie, hands in his pockets. He looked around, spotted me, and came over. "Hey, I'm Chris. You the trainer?" "Yeah. You ready?" "Let's do it." He smiled. Shook my hand. And that's when I saw them. The tattoos. Butterflies. One on each wrist. Black. Clean. Spread wide like wings ready to fly. My throat tightened. For a split second, the air left the room. Because I remembered. Not his name. Not his voice. His wrists. That courtyard. That November. The boy who pulled the phone from my pocket. The smirk. The push. The last kick. It was him. He didn't recognize me. Just another trainer. Just another Jim. But I knew. I knew the moment I saw those wings inked across his skin. Two emotions hit me at once. First, rage. A deep, rising fire. I wanted to throw him out. Pin him to the wall. Ask, do you remember? Do you have any idea who I am? Second, clarity. A stillness. A strange realization of just how far I'd come. He used to tower over me. Now I stood taller. He used to laugh while I lay bleeding. Now he waited for my instruction. I took a breath. And said, let's start with a warm-up. We trained. Like nothing was wrong. I didn't slip. Didn't shake. Showed him the basics. Watched his form. Corrected his stance. He listened. Nodded. Followed every cue. When we wrapped, he smiled again. You're chill. I like this style. Not like those other guys. Glad to hear it, I said. He asked to book again. Said he wanted to keep going, maybe every other day. I said yes. He left. I stood there for a long time. Staring at my own reflection in the window. I wasn't sure why I'd said yes. Maybe because I needed to see what kind of man I'd become. Or maybe because I wanted him to see it too. From the very first minute, something inside me stayed clenched. He stood there like any other new client, slight slouch, unsure smile, worn-out t-shirt. But I didn't see a beginner. I saw November. Asphalt. Cold. And those butterflies. I forced myself to breathe. Kept my voice even. We started with warm-ups. Standard routine, cardio, joint mobility, some dynamic stretches. He moved well enough. A little off balance. But he tried. Joked when he got winded. Laughed when I corrected him. He was just normal. That was the strangest part. He didn't seem cruel. Didn't seem dangerous. He just looked like a guy trying to turn a page. But I knew. And that was enough. We went through the whole session without a slip. I stayed professional. Showed the moves, adjusted his form, gave feedback. He nodded a lot. Asked questions. Thanked me. At the end, he said, that was actually dope. You explained stuff really clear. I've tried before, but it never clicked. Glad it helped, I said. Think I could come back in 2 days? I paused. Could have said no. But for some reason I said, sure. Message me the night before. He smiled. Waved. Left. I stared at the door for a long time. We trained again. And again. Every other day, like clockwork. He was consistent. Always showed up. Never late. Always thanked me. I adjusted the plan each time, heavier sets, new movements. He pushed himself. Complained sometimes, but never quit. Said things like, man, I didn't think I could do this stuff. You got some kind of Jedi focus. It's cool. And all the while, I was thinking about that night. About the cold concrete. The phone yanked from my pocket. The butterflies, staring at me while I lay there, humiliated. He still hadn't recognized me. Not a flicker. Not a pause. Nothing. Which made it even stranger, this feeling that was growing in me. Not hatred. Not fear. Something more complex. I kept asking myself, who am I now? Am I the kid who got jumped and said nothing? Or the man helping this same person become stronger? Somehow, I was both. One day, after a rough workout, he dropped onto the bench, panting. Bro, you're killing me. But, like, in a good way. I chuckled softly. You survived. He looked at me sideways. You're always so quiet. Mysterious or just tired? Makes the session more efficient, I said. He laughed, shook his head. Fair. He stretched out his arms and looked at his wrists. These. He said, pointing to the tattoos. Got M years ago. Dumbest decision. Thought it meant freedom or whatever. Now I just wish I could cover them. I didn't say anything. Just watched. And thought, not as dumb as you think. They told me everything I ever needed to know about you. After about 6 sessions, I started to see him differently. Not as the guy from the alley. As the person he was now. Still figuring things out. Still uncertain. Not violent. Not cruel. Just unfinished. I could see he had no clue what that night did to me. And maybe he never would. But I didn't need him to feel it. I just needed to say it. Once. Out loud. Not for revenge. For closure. On our last session before the weekend, he asked me to add more weight. Pushed through the circuit without whining. Nailed his last set. He smiled, proud of himself. This is the first time in forever I feel like I'm actually doing something. Like, showing up for myself. I nodded. You are. He packed up, gave me a casual fist bump, and left. I stood there after he walked out. Alone. Listening to the hum of the lights. Feeling the silence thicken. I was ready. Ready to speak. Not for him. For me. Our last session went just like the others. Smooth. Focused. No slip-ups. I gave him a tougher circuit. He handled it. Even asked for more weight. He was getting confident, and I could see it. But the whole time, I kept thinking, today, I'll say it. Afterward, we sat down on the bench near the window. He leaned back, stretched out, wiped sweat off his forehead. His breathing was steady. Like he finally relaxed. Hey, Chris, I said, keeping my tone light. Those tattoos, the butterflies. When did you get them? He opened his eyes and looked over, a little confused. Like 2 years ago, maybe. Why? I paused. I think we've met before. Not here. Long time ago. A courtyard. Late fall. You weren't alone. His face tightened. He sat up. Brows pulled in. Eyes sharper now. Wait, he stared at me, and I could tell something was replaying in his head. A film reel. A memory. Dusty but still there. Then he whispered, that was you. I didn't answer. Just looked at him. He swallowed hard. You had a gray jacket. And we were. Jesus. I didn't. I mean, I nodded. Yeah. I didn't go into detail. Didn't describe the pain. Didn't talk about the blood or the fear or the way I walked home in the rain with nothing left but shame. He looked down at the floor. I was a stupid kid, he said. His voice was low, like he hated hearing it himself. No excuse. I don't even know what we were thinking. I was lost, man. That's not who I am now. At least, I don't want it to be. He stood up. Walked a few steps toward the window. Stared down at the parking lot. I shouldn't be here, he said. You don't owe me anything. You shouldn't waste your time on me. I stood too. I wasn't planning to, I said quietly. I just needed to tell you. Not for you. For me. He turned to look at me. Eyes full. No anger. Just wait. Then he nodded. Didn't say another word. And walked out. He never came back. Even though he had more sessions paid for. Even though he'd seemed committed. And I didn't reach out. Didn't ask. Didn't explain it to the staff. He was gone. And something in me left with him. 2 weeks passed. Then, one morning, I checked my phone and saw a message from an unknown number. I'm sorry. I didn't understand back then. I do now. Thank you for not hitting me. You could've. You were stronger. I stared at the screen. Didn't smile. Didn't frown. Just felt something lift. Not everything needs a reply. Sometimes, to let go of the past, all you have to do is face it, and stay standing. I stayed. And now? What would you have done in my place? Leave it in the comments.